Hi and welcome. It's Jules Muller, Chief Chick at Chicks Connect. And today we're super excited to have Trudy Beerman with us. Trudy has many credentials within the financial industry. As a paralegal, real estate broker, insurance agent, and notary, she has helped people process huge financial and private projects. In the process, she picked up incredible insight to what drives financial decisions. And not all those decisions lead to a desired end result. Her lesson came at a high personal cost, as during the recent recession, Trudy and her husband experienced incredible financial loss, even though they followed the financial wisdom of the experts at the time. Turning to the Bible, Trudy realized why and reinvented herself and her finances on biblical foundations. She is the author of The Bible on Business, the Debt-Free Wealth Money Coach, host of Debt-Free Wealth Radio, and her mission is to help you upgrade your lifestyle the debt-free way. So Trudy, we are so excited to have you with us here today. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what you're up to today.
Well, thank you, Jules. And I appreciate you having me on. A little bit more about my background. I'm originally from Jamaica, and met my husband online when it wasn't so cool to do so. We married. We did everything according to the conservative standards. You know, we saved. We had our 401k. We had our real estate investments. We had our businesses. We had, bought gold and silver. We did, we did all the supposedly right things. But most of all, the going way was to use debt to leverage life. So the concept of good debt. So you go, get debt to go do your education, or you get debt to purchase some expensive asset. So that was the going way, and that's actually even what I taught. And in real estate, especially in the recession, it was a free-for-all with real estate, and buying these expensive assets for little down and just carrying a heavy debt load. So we did everything, according to how the experts said it should be done. I certainly was a part of the industry and a part of that teaching. And when the recession hit, we were like, wow, what just happened? Thankfully, we had savings to carry us for almost 2 years, which not a lot of people could say. But my husband was a building contractor. I was a real estate broker. We were both very active in real estate at the height of the bubble. And so when it hit, it went from, nice to zero, and it was like, whoa. And we wondered what the heck happened. And I had, just before the recession, I had been in a Christian finance course, and that was the first time that I had met people my age that were debt-free. It was only like my parents and that, age group that was debt-free in my experience. And it was the biblical teaching of, just not carrying any debt. So when the economic times happened, and I looked back and saw, what we lost, or how close we came to losing some other things, I was like, what really happened? And then the Bible, I just latched on. The Lord just gave me Romans 13:8. Oh, no man, any debt but love. I'm paraphrasing. And it occurred to me that it wasn't so much what we lost as it was the burden of the debt we were carrying. There are lots of people in the world that live on less than $1 a day, so it doesn't take that much to survive and exist. The kind of money that it takes to have any quality of life experience is that's a quality of life experience dollar figure, because it doesn't really take that much to survive, and a lot of people have lost so much in this time, and they're still here. They didn't die because of the recession. So, I learned a whole lot and totally did things completely different. I no longer subscribe to the concept of good debt. There's no such thing as good debt any more than there is a good cockroach out there, okay? I'm sorry. I believe in necessary debt, and that means that if you do have to get into debt for something, you go at the absolute minimum and try to avoid it at all costs. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Well, that's great. That's great. And I love that you reinvented yourself, and I was able to be a part of that reinvention through sharing an income opportunity, because part of your radio show is actually hosting people that have business opportunities. And aside from Chicks Connect, I'm also part of an MLM, Send Out Cards. And you let me have 5 minutes on your show to talk about that. So talk to us about how did you move forward in starting this radio show, perhaps at a time where you weren't feeling like you really wanted to be giving advice, perhaps, or maybe even, being out there and being vulnerable like that?
Well, I tell you, Jules, it's interesting you asked that question. I actually, because I have multiple credentials, and I started to sell insurance, and I was actually doing very well. I wish I knew you were going to ask me that question. I had a couple of awards that I had gotten, and it was a burden on my heart to really help a lot of people, because there's so many people who were suffering, so many people who were crying and whining. They didn't work, they didn't have any money, and I was, I had made it through that time, and I knew there was a way out, and I just wanted to get that information out there. But the problem was, the moment I actually went ahead and I had started Debt Free Wealth Radio, I was in my bed one night and I literally got those words, Debt Free Wealth. I went, the website was available, and it just a whole snowball effect. I literally got a whole business blueprint in a matter of moments. And I started doing the radio show, and I was selling gold and silver. And as I grew in the insurance company, I guess I got on their radar, and headquarters put a cease and desist on me and told me that I was to stop disseminating information, because basically, what they were afraid of, I guess, is that I don't know. They just wanted me to stop, and I just couldn't handle that. And it came down to, do I give up the radio show, or do I give up the money I was making at the insurance company? And I walked away from the insurance company. I felt that the money education and the people that I were helping, and I knew I was helping people because my audience was growing, and I felt that was more important. And I did not really like the idea of somebody telling me what I couldn't do. I'm kind of a rebel that way. And so, I stepped away, and I've been celebrating entrepreneurship ever since. And that's partly why on Debt Free Wealth Radio, I invite entrepreneurs on to share their business opportunity, to celebrate that, because, to help promote them as well, because that's what this is all about. Because when people can write their own paycheck, it is extremely freeing. Right now, the job market is painfully poor and likely to get worse with time, just based on the statistics. And I watch a lot of the demographics and a lot of the numbers, and I think it's a smoke screen right now, but that's a discussion for another day. The thing is that people are so locked into the golden handcuffs of getting that paycheck at the end of the week, and they think there's security there. There's no security there, because the fact of the matter is that they could walk in tomorrow and they're getting a pink slip. And to me, it's harder to go from paycheck to zero than to go from zero to paycheck. And when you start your own business, I mean, like what happened with us when the economic recession happened and people were losing their jobs right, left, and center, because my husband and I were entrepreneurs. Even though the money was trickling in, it was trickling in. There were others who had zero. We really never had zero. I mean, we went from 30 to 50,000 a month to, chump change. But the point is, there was chump change, where people were having zero. So it was just an eye opener for me. And then when the market turned around, people who were making 6 and 7 figures were being asked to take silly jobs, in their minds, silly jobs, because it was, we assess our identity so much with what we do. And so when they were asked to scale back just to survive, it was a blow to them. So I have to celebrate entrepreneurship. I think this country was built on entrepreneurship, and I think they have a lot of people have lost that. You know, the industrial era was great for this country, but it did put a lot of people directly into the workforce, took them away from their farms, took them away from their own little small businesses, and brought them into corporate America. And then they got relaxed. You know, the paycheck was coming in, even if they were looking at Facebook all day. The paycheck was coming in, even if they were playing solitaire. And I think that, you know, that has changed the mindset of a lot of people as to how they're supposed to live and earn their income. And that's unfortunate. So with Debt Free Wealth Radio, I absolutely celebrate entrepreneurship, and I encourage people, even those who have what they consider to be a secure job, to start something for themselves on the side. Because, and that's actually the best time to do it, because when they have that sense of security and that they don't have that panic behind them, then they can build something at a relaxed pace that may step in for them if the job walks away for whatever reason. So.
And, you know, they're also a good example to the people that they're sharing their business opportunity with, who may also have businesses. You know, I always like the lead-in, you know, what do you do for a second income? And people are like, well, what do you mean? I have a job. I get paid. But what's your plan B? What's your second income that you're building on the side? It's going to build your retirement, and it's going to, you know, grow over time. And so, you know, the lessons that you're teaching are amazing, and it's wonderful that you've opened up this community to people to listen to your radio show and get involved and call in and ask questions. So my next question is, what are some of the challenges? I know you spoke from going from paycheck to zero. What are some of the other challenges that your clients and listeners face?
Well, the first one is denial. They never really want to get a reality check of where they are. They avoid it like the plague. And when they are forced to sit down and get that reality check, then they still go into a mode of shopping, as if to say, you know, the fact that they can find the $20 to splurge on something means everything is not quite that bad. So it's a thing that I think is the biggest problem out there, Jules, is that what people are earning right now is not truly reflective of the lifestyle that they want to have. Therefore, they have to swipe that credit card. Because if you make, I'm just going to use numbers, if you make $4,000 a month, but you need $5,000 to get all the things you really want, you're going to swipe that card for that extra $1,000. And the going celebrity gurus out there are preaching very hard, you got to live within and below your means. And, you know, the fact is that it is an important and realistic strategy, but people are resisting that information, because to live within and below your means to live on less money. And the fact is, the reason that they're swiping that card in the first place is because they didn't feel they had enough money to keep up with the lifestyle that they were wanting to have in the first place. So to ask someone to live within and below their means is to put handcuffs on, and they don't like that. So for me, the reason why I feel I'm very different from the celebrity gurus in this space is that while they're very, you know, they're preaching very hard, live within your means, live within your means, live below your means. It is true, it is an absolute required strategy, but for me, it is a temporary strategy, and that's what I try to get across to people. It is a temporary strategy, because what you define as your means, we have to expand it. So I'm not asking you to stay where you are and live less. I'm saying start for now to live less, so you get that little cushion in there that can start to whittle away at the debt or to build that savings. But the point is, because I'm so entrepreneurially minded, I am not at all asking them to live within their means. So if their means is $4,000, live within. No. Expand that means. Expand it. Find, you know, there are ways to make that extra $1,000, that extra $2,000. There's a way to replace that income. And then the next thing you know is that you are living within and below your means, because you've expanded your means and given yourself the kind of money it takes to live the quality of life experience that you're looking for, because that is the big thing that drives spending decisions, Joel. People spend based on their lifestyle, based on their desired lifestyle. So even if they don't need another pair of cute shoes, they just have to have it. And so they go ahead and spend that card. They're not thinking really about tomorrow. And that because of that lifestyle and that need to have those extra pair of shoes, they're finding themselves digging a deeper and deeper and deeper hole. And so I'm like, okay, yes, we do need to try to live within the lower means. That is true. However, rather than try to stay in this small space where you were already uncomfortable and you were needing to stretch your wings and swipe that card, let's get you up to that next dollar level. You know, that's what I go for. And I really push for people to expand their quality of life, that lifestyle upgrade.
And so on your radio show, not only do you have business opportunities, but what are some of the other topics that people can find on this show?
Anything money is fair game on my show. I basically approach money from three ways: deleting debt, building wealth, and protecting family assets. I think that pretty much covers the whole gamut of money. When you delete your debt, there's a myriad of things we can talk about there, from strategies, from where you end up when you're in debt, the scams, all kinds of things that have to do with debt and the debt consolidation, all the strategies and stuff that's out there. When we're talking about building wealth, of course we can talk about business opportunities. We interview other experts, maybe talk about investments, gold, silver, whatever, in real estate, whatever the strategies that people use to build their wealth. Including the moment you delete some of your debt, guess what? You have more wiggle room, more money to play with, right? And then, of course, protecting your assets, because a lot of people work so hard and in one fell swoop, they lose it all. Mm-hmm. Even a simple thing with what happened in the recession, where real estate was upside down and they lost all their money. 401ks, I have a problem with 401ks and those money brokers, and I won't go into that. That's a discussion for another day. I just think people, they're good, but people have too much of a hands-off strategy, and these brokers are making money regardless of whether they make money for you. So, anything that has to do with money. Now, I'm not a wellness person. I'm not a health and wellness person. But from time to time, people will hear me talk about health and wellness on my show. But I'm not coming from the space of eat this and exercise that. I have found that health, if left unchecked, will be one of the biggest money bleeds out there, because people will spend and dig that hole without remorse, without regret, without care, to restore their health or to bring back themselves from pain or to help save a loved one. So I will address health and wellness from time to time, only from the point of, listen, you got to keep yourself in good shape, in good order, not because of how you're going to look in the mirror, not because of any of that, but just because if you don't, you'll find yourself spending. It will be a black hole for money. So sometimes that will come up as well.
Wonderful. What are some of the other things that you do? I know you have a radio show, and then you also have a book that you've just written that's on Amazon. So tell us a little bit about your book, and then some other things that you're up to in the world.
Well, I've actually written a couple of books, but this one's my baby right now. This is my baby, The Bible on Business, and if I would encourage anybody to get it. Christmas is coming, holidays are coming. It'll be a really great gift. Everything I do, Jules, is under the banner of Lifestyle Upgrades, the Debt-Free Wealth Way. Everything that I do. The Debt-Free Wealth Way is achieving wealth debt-free. Okay, that's the Debt-Free Wealth Way. Because, like I said, in the past, we used to use debt to acquire assets. So when people talk about net worth, your net worth is because you have a gross worth, and then you have all these debt that you have to subtract, and you end up with your net worth. So the Debt-Free Wealth Way is to acquire wealth, but to acquire it with as little or no debt as possible. And then, of course, we're looking for those lifestyle upgrades. So everything that I do is built towards that. So I'm into gold and silver. I mean, that is like the ultimate playground of the rich and famous. You just got to have gold and silver. It just is one of those things. Whether you have it on paper or you have it tangible, I believe in having the tangible assets. So I'm into gold and silver. one of the other lifestyle pieces is vacations, because it's one of the hallmarks of the quality of life that a person has is how many vacations they take and the quality of the vacations they take. So I do have debt-free vacations. Now, I'm not a travel agent. I don't come from the angle of, well, let me put it this way. I don't promote vacations per se, but again, it's another one of those areas that people want to enjoy as part of that quality of life experience. And again, whoop, swipe the card, and what would have been, say, a $4,000 or $5,000 vacation for the family becomes $8-9 by the time you finish paying for it, and it's not, you know. So I'm like, take that vacation the debt-free way. So everything I do is, how can you accomplish that debt-free? How can you have that lifestyle upgrade? So, you know, whether it is that you need to have the next Gucci purse or whatever, how can you acquire those lifestyle things without getting your life, you know, putting yourself into a situation? So everything that I do is based around that. Every single thing that I do is based around that.
Well, and you talked about, you know, acquiring gold and silver. So for those people like me who've never purchased gold and silver, how do you even start something like that? And how much money would you need to get involved with that? And how does all that work?
And I actually have a whole blog site dedicated to that. But it's really very easy, Jules, because a lot of people think that, and I thought I would, you know, I didn't know you were going to ask me that question out of hat. Well, this is a silver coin. There we go. And I'm going to be giving your people, you know, I don't know what you're going to have them do to get it, but one or two of them will get this. Here we go.
We saw it the first time. There we go.
Okay, there we go. So, but it's just a starter coin just to get them going. But silver right now is under $30 an ounce, and it's very, very easy to acquire. And I've found that for me, when I tried to save in cash, whether I put, you know, a secret account or a jar or money under the bed, it didn't matter. The money always got touched. Something came up. But when I took that money and I bought gold or silver, I mean, I could liquidate it if I really needed to, but I didn't. And just somehow the habit of purchasing some gold and silver on a consistent basis, I don't really care what the going market rate is for gold and silver because I'm not a speculator on it. It's just a saving strategy for me. It's very easy to get started. I think that's a story for another day, but it's really, really very easy to get started. There are retail sites out there. There are wholesale sites out there. I am involved in a wholesale situation, and so I get a little bit of a gap between what is the market price. So if you were to check what is, you know, the New York Stock Exchange or whatever one of those markets says is gold and silver's value for today, if you check some of the big retailers like Gulfmint.com or Atmex.com or any of the other big retailers, you know, they have that spread because they're a retailer. And I do have a retail site as well, but I have a wholesale situation. It's really not that hard to get into gold and silver. You can be a collector, you can be whatever.
I think, like in your bio where you said you had trusted experts in the space and you still, you know, even following their plan. Well, I think there could be people out there that may be nervous to get involved with gold and silver because they don't know who to trust. And so knowing, you know, how do I know if this person is really selling me gold or silver or they're just trying to scam me? And so will your blog cover all that?
Yeah, actually, there's someone in our group that will remain nameless that was purchasing gold from an online site. They never did ever get the gold. Supposedly, the strategy was that they were holding it in some kind of account for them. And when they, you know, because they had interaction with me, they requested the gold. You know, they had several $1,000s worth of gold already amassed. And to their surprise, there was going to be some challenges for them to get the actual tangible gold. So I would say, first of all, stick with U.S. suppliers at all, you know, if at all possible, because a lot of these suppliers are international. And I'm not saying that they are not legitimate. I'm just saying that if you start with a U.S. source, you have a better starting point. I think at least there's more teeth in the system to protect you. And then, of course, it's always good to do business with people you know, if you know them, and if there's a local place that you can walk into and get it, then that's also another way to go. But one of the hallmarks is, can you actually receive your tangible asset? When you have paper assets, for example, like in the recession, when people had investments in, say, Enron, okay, on paper, it looked like they had something incredible. When Enron went down, they thought, well, it's gas, it's natural gas, so I should still be okay. Not really, because the moment it's a paper asset, it's only as good as a company. And so when you're talking about paper assets, the reputation of the company comes into play. That's why a lot of these bigger houses will always be the bigger houses, the Charles Schwab, the Templeton, all of those things, because they have the reputation behind their name. But I did have my money with those people, and at the same time, you know, my husband was in charge of our money at the time, and his position was, let's just let them do their job, and we take our hands off. And I would ask them, well, you know, what's the status? And it was like, well, it's long term, let's leave it alone. I just say people need to be aware of their financial situation and their husbands and wives, for example. And I've talked to a lot of wives, and the husband takes care of everything, and so they just trust the husband. I still say you need to know what's going on, okay? Even if, you know, I agree that one person, you know, should have the responsibility of writing the checks, because it could get crazy. Did you write the check? No, I thought you wrote the check. I think there's, you know, one person should take care of the job, but the other person should have absolute full knowledge and a bit insane what's going on. And I think if you take that total hands off and you're not aware of what's going on, then a problem could happen, and by the time you realize it, it's way too far gone. So and the brokers, like I said, they make money on you whether they make money for you, and you have to remember that. So remember that they work for you, and as much as they're the experts, they still have to honor your request. So you need to treat them that in the fact that they are working for you, and not get frightened by the fact that they're the experts. And of course, they may know more about this topic than you, but don't let that frighten you, because they're still working for you. And they can put on all the airs, but the fact of the matter is, it's your money, and you call the shots. So.
Right, right. Well, what other valuable tips do you have for us today, just that you find are you know, must-haves or must-dos? You've offered so much information for us already. This is great.
I think an absolute must-do is to have an absolute reality check as to where a person is right now financially. And I'm not talking about a credit score. A credit score is worthless if you know your credit score is a mess anyway. So the number itself is not important. But have you ever looked back at an old photo of yourself? I recently did a webinar, and I had a photo of myself that was 10 years old. It's 2003, we're in 2013. And if you look at that picture of me 10 years ago to where I am now, like, whoa, is that you, Trudy? I mean, there's enough for you to know it really is me, but there's been a lot of changes. Here's the thing. Over the course of those 10 years, I did not notice the gradual changes to my face, to my skin, to my hair. Yeah, the grays bug me, okay, so that much. But the point is that when I look back at that picture, and then I look in the mirror, I can see the incredible changes over time. So what happens is, when people come to me, the very first thing I do is it's like I take a snapshot. We've got to take that snapshot, because sometimes these changes, these improvements happen so gradually that you don't notice, and it's so easy to say, it's not happening. It's not happening fast enough. People get upset, they get frustrated. But if you've taken the time to get a true snapshot, then it's easier to measure your progress. And an inch closer is an inch closer. So the important thing is to get that snapshot. So it goes beyond a credit score. The score is nice to have, but it's not an important number at this point. The big one is your debt freedom date. Your debt freedom date. A lot of people don't realize that based on their existing debt load, not the credit card swipe they'll make tomorrow, not the new credit card that will come, the offer that will come in the mail next week. We're talking about where they are right now, what already appears on their known reported debt. If they were to have that projected based on where they are and the minimum payment spread, for some people we're looking at 35, 45, 55 years to be debt-free from the debt load that they're currently carrying. And that puts a lot of people, whoa, you know, they're like, whoa, and they're in denial. It's like they don't believe it. Why? Because they can make that payment on the credit card next month. The problem is, if you lose that job, no matter how good of a payment you were making all along, those people do not care. They do not care. And so, you know, so the debt freedom date is super important. And then a strategy for deleting that debt super fast. So that, and actually that is all encompassed in one product that I do promote. And other than that, I think, and I honestly don't remember the question you asked me, but I know that that was a part of it.
Yeah, just any other valuable tips for us, so other things that we should know before we wrap up our interview today.
There is a map that I'll give you the link for that, Jules. It's free, at least free for now. It's a very comprehensive debt-free wealth map that I've put together, and it takes a person from here to there. And encompassed in that is the snapshot I was telling you about. So if they're not going to be a client of mine, all they need to do is print everything off and keep their own records. There will be resources in there if they want to, you know, do their own thing. There are a lot of A-type personalities. They can run with it, do their own thing. But it's a very, I think it's a very comprehensive map because it will have them thinking about things they probably haven't thought about yet. It is generic. So like, for example, if someone's not into real estate, you know, real estate's going to be on there. But it's something, I think it's a very comprehensive map about getting from here to there and becoming debt-free and getting those lifestyle upgrades. And so I'll send a link to you for that. I just, you know, not everybody sees things the way I do, because a lot of people, if they get an extra $50 a month on their paycheck, a little tiny pay increase, to them it's yoo-hoo, they can go get another X that costs $50 a month. And so not a lot of people really want to be debt-free. They say they want, but there's a big difference between a fantasy wish out there in the air and something that you're gonna put your hands and feet to and make happen for you. And there's a big difference there. And so a lot of people are still in fantasy land, just saying they want to be debt-free, but they really don't. They really don't, because they're not prepared to do what they need to do. And it is, you know, you don't arrive at debt overnight any more than we arrive at being fat overnight. It takes time. And these are tiny decisions, moment by moment, along in our life. And unless you have that mindset to be debt-free and to live debt-free, it won't just magically happen and money just magically flies out of the air. It doesn't happen. We really have to organize our life to invite that in and to create those opportunities for ourselves.
Wonderful, wonderful. And tell us about the book. You said that there's an e-book that you'll share with our community as well.
Actually, that is that, you know, if they don't use a map, that will get them that as well. It's a free it's actually available for sale on Amazon, but I'm giving it to your people free. So I'm giving you the link, and you can distribute that as you like. It is titled "Broke, Get Debt Free Wealth," and I outline 15 of the ways, the common ways most people find themselves in debt, and then I also mention 16 ways to get yourself out of debt. So here's the thing. If you don't know how you got yourself into debt in the first place, you may or may not be in a position to work yourself out of it. So for example, if you have a gambling habit, if you don't correct that, there's no getting out of the debt. But if it was that you co-signed your daughter's student loan and she just didn't pay, then, you know, it's a capsule of a specific situation, and you can learn the lesson and not co-sign again. So starting with the 15 common ways people find themselves in debt and then 16 strategies to delete that debt, and that's built into that book right there. So broke, get debt-free wealth.
Wonderful. Well, tell us, how can people follow you and get connected with you? What are the best ways to get all of your websites and Facebook and all of that? Share that.
Well, first of all, you and I are Facebook friends, so if they're connected with you, all they have to do is go look through your friend list for my name, and they'll find me. However, on Facebook, it's facebook.com/Trudy Beerman public figure. I'm on Twitter, Trudy Beerman. I'm not really much of a Twitter person, but I'm there. Pinterest, I'm doing a little bit more on Pinterest these days. And TrudyBeerman.com is my website. And of course, DebtFreeWealthRadio.com. DebtFreeWealthRadio.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Trudy, so much for being with us here today. We are so excited for the wonderful gifts, and also I know our community is going to be excited to get connected with you and hear your definitely your radio show, as well as check out your website and other resources. And don't forget to check Amazon for your book. Tell us the title of that one more time.
The Bible on Business. I want to say this really quick, Jules. I mean, Chicks Connect, I think, is a very awesome platform. I think women, and I deal with a lot of women. In fact, it's amazing. I didn't know, I didn't intend to speak to women when I started out. But my statistics, Google Analytics, and all that tells me that a lot of women are listening to me, which I find interesting. And the mindset of a woman when it comes to money is a very interesting place, because we are just coming into our own in history, where we have the power and the confidence to step into that place to say we can be entrepreneurs, we can be head of households, we can, even if we're married, contribute to the finances, even if we're not contributing financially in terms of dollars and cents. We have an incredible power in terms of spending decisions. So that wife that is busy sliding that credit card without thinking, is just, or is the one who is making frugal decisions and wise spending habits. We are incredibly powerful, and we have incredible influence over our families and over spending decisions. And so, women, when we come together, it's an interesting phenomenon, because a lot of us are still not sure where we fit, especially in the place of entrepreneurship. We still want to defer to someone else, and we are so powerful, and if we could just embrace that power that we truly have. So this mastermind that you have, I think, is incredible, because even like what's happening right now, we're sharing, we're encouraging, we're giving tips and strategies to other women, and that's just an incredible thing. So I think that's a fabulous thing that Chicks Connect is doing. So kudos.
Thank you, and you just hit the nail on the head. When these women join together and really encourage one another, hold one another accountable, and they're actually setting financial goals and health and wellness goals and business goals, and they have that accountability with their sister chicks, and they then celebrate in the success as well, which all too often, women will just kind of cross off the thing on their to-do list and they won't celebrate it. And so by having this community of women to really, celebrate every milestone, no matter how small, how big, that really cements the success and helps us to move forward. So, so you're right. The women joining together are really becoming empowered and collaborating and doing amazing things locally as well as globally. So we're very blessed to have you as our guest today, Trudy, and I know these women will reach out and learn more about what you have to offer. So again, it's Jules Muller, Chief Chick at Chicks Connect, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Jules.